Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Denmark once again and we're going to go to another brewery that I've never tried anything from before. So these guys are another relatively new addition to the Danish beer scene. Their beers have been getting a lot of positive press in recent times, and I have seen the bottles floating around Copenhagen, but I've never actually managed to get a hold of something to review for you until now. But it's most definitely fair to say that these guys are best known for their different kinds of sour beer, wild ales, whatever you want to call them, and they have been getting, a lot of positive press for the stuff that they're doing, and they've got a good pedigree behind them as well. So yeah, needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to go to a little place called Voerladegård, and I will apologise in advance for any bad Danish pronunciations in this video. Danish reduction when it comes to consonants is a bit crazy, particularly if you speak Swedish or Norwegian. But yeah, we're going to go to Voerladegård, which is close to Aarhus on Jylland, the mainland part of Denmark, so about halfway up I would say. But for this review then, we are going to take a look at my first beer from Observatoriet, or Observatoriet as I would be tempted to say. And these guys are of course a specialist sour beer wild ale brewery. But this particular beer is called Thestias. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and this one is a Brettanomyces and Lactobacillus sour that's been dry hopped with American hops, so this should be quite interesting actually. But this beer was bought at the Beer Hive in Amager in Copenhagen, and this one was recommended to me by Nicolina. I've always talked about Jessica recommending beers to me, but yeah, Nicolina is the other owner, and the time when I went in, the most recent time when I went in, it was her that was behind the counter, and this was her recommendation, so I thought, well, take one from her, because we've taken so many recommendations from Jessica. So yeah, really looking forward to this one, the Thestias from Observatoriet, my first encounter with this brewery. So yeah, let's crack on and see what we have then. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Observatoriet. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I've mentioned, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography-based tagging system. Just put your local city, county, state, whatever into the search bar and it should pop up. And you can of course check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Danish playlist along with many other things. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a little bit about Observatoriet, or Observatory if we give it the Danish pronunciation. Yeah, terrible at pronouncing these Danish words. But anyway, Observatoriet are based in Voerladegård, as I said, which is close to Skanderborg or Silkeborg, but to the west of Aarhus on Jylland in Denmark. And this company was founded back in 2020 by Simon Toft Hansen when he moved away from Copenhagen. His name, of course, is well known though, because he originally founded the Ulsnegern company in Copenhagen back in 2012. And of course, that is like, the beer blacksmith, if I remember right, or the beer crafter, the beer carpenter, I think actually is how it translates. But yeah, he originally founded Ulsnegern in Copenhagen back in 2012, and he started brewing in the basement of the bar and then served his beer from the taps. But Simon apparently has been experimenting with sour beer since he founded Ulsnegern, and he was always concerned a little bit about cross-contamination. But in 2018, Ulsnegern opened a new brewery of their own on Borutvej, which is to the north of Görløse, where Øl Kollektivet is. I think that is only home to dry and bitter brewing these days. But yeah, the idea when they were opening up this new facility, the idea of doing sour beers really was cemented, and it was at this point that he started thinking, maybe we should do another brewery that is exclusively for sour beers. So over the course of 2019, he dedicated his time to getting a new brewery up and running, and that was where Observatoriet came in. But the brewery itself is based in an old abattoir, slaughterhouse, whatever you want to call it, and he started off by brewing 900 to 1400 litres of beer per batch, and he also had about 30 different wooden casks of between 2 to 400 litres. But at first, he was only putting beer into kegs, but soon after this, they started with bottles. I think it was last year, toward the end of last year, 2021, that I actually started to see some bottles from this brewery, and I think that was in that was actually in Copenhagen. It could have been the start of this year as well, actually 2022. But yeah, it's only quite recently that these guys have been starting to bottle their beers, but they have been putting them out in keg and things like that for a little while actually. But as of November 2022, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 20 different kinds of beer, and as I've said a few times in the video, they are specialists in sour beers, wild ales, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, this should be really quite interesting to try actually. I've been keeping an eye out for bottles from these guys for a good little while. But yeah, that's everything I can tell you about Observatoriet for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and actually have a taste of this one then. So yeah, I'd just like to have a little look at the artwork on this one. There you can see Observatoriet, which of course in English would mean the observatory. And interestingly, Thestias, this is, it's a Greek god actually, it's a Greek king if I remember rightly in mythology, but it's also the name of a planet. I forget exactly what system it's part of, but yeah, Thestias is the official name of a planet in one of the systems that's quite close to us in the solar system, of course. And I'm guessing that just by the shape of it, you can see the little shape above Observatoriet. It looks like one of these telescope dome things, actually. So I've been in a few of those when I was studying astrophysics, of course. But yeah, it certainly looks like one of these observation systems, as we would call it. But yeah, 6.5% ABV. This one, it tells you a little bit about the beer on the side. This ale was matured in a fodder for 10 months with Brettanomyces and Lactobacillus. It was then carefully dry hopped with fresh and citrusy American hops, and at last spiced with a tasty finish, a relative of sorts to our Pollux. So I'm guessing they're saying this beer is similar to one of the other ones here. So it says the ingredients in this beer is barley malt, wheat malt, hops, yeast, water, paradise seeds and coriander seeds. So yeah, it should be quite a nice wheaty, funky type sour, this one. But yeah, aged in oak barrels, wild yeast cultures, and then time. It does say that on the side here. But it's bottled in April of 2022, this one, and they're saying that it's best to consume it before April of 2027. But yeah, this should be quite cool. So Thestias, 6.5% ABV from Observatoriet in Jylland in Malmö. Not in Malmö, in Copenhagen, in Denmark. Brain is not working, guys, but let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. 375ml bottle, incidentally, and you can see a nice kind of sort of golden colour top on this one. So let's just get this guy out into the glass and we'll see what we have. There we go. Got a little bit excited, but not too much actually. I've seen sour beers get more excited than this. But yeah, you should always try to be careful with these beers regardless. But we'll just pour this slowly and let it do its thing. Yeah. This looks good, yeah. There you are. So, yeah, not too much in the way of sediment left in the bottle, at the bottom of the bottle there, because this beer, of course, is still quite young. You know, you could age this a little bit more. But yeah, I kind of wanted to try my first beer from these guys and get this brewery on the channel, of course. So yeah, that was the main thing behind this. But yeah, anyway, as you can see, this beer looks absolutely beautiful. So before the head disappears, we can safely say that it's poured with about a 2/3 finger or a 3/4 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of slightly cream coloured head, one or two big bubbles sitting toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there, but overall it does look pretty damn nice. Yeah, in terms of the colour of this one, kind of as you would expect from a sort of wheat-based beer, it's got that lovely, very kind of bright yellow colour to it. And remember, the colour of your beer depends on 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, the length of your wort boil is going to play a role. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar's caramelised, thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging that you do or any adjuncts you put in will, of course, affect the colour of the beer as well. But yeah, in this case, when it comes to lighter beers like this that are barrel aged, you can affect them by quite significantly by putting adjuncts and the different type of barrel aging that you might do. So yeah, it does look pretty nice, this beer, I have to say. So yeah, but nothing unexpected with it. There are one or two little particles of sediment floating around it, and you can see the beer does have a little bit of that natural haze to it, and that will be from the sediment at the bottom of the that was at the bottom of the bottle there. But yeah, you could see when we poured it, it was pretty much crystal clear, but it looked looks very, very nice. I don't think we need to say anything else about the appearance of this one, so we can go on and have a wee look at the aroma then. I'm really curious about this. Oh yeah, it smells pretty damn nice, I have to say. One thing I do have to say as well is that these kind of wild ales, it's really my colleague Alan at Bishop's Arms in Gustav Adolfstorg in Malmö. He's really got me into the kind of wild ales and the lambics and sort of stuff like this. I always liked them, but I wasn't quite as into them. But he's really enthusiastic about, you know, farmhouse beers, wild ales, and all these kind of things. And he's got me thinking about them a bit more and thinking that I should incorporate these into the channel a little bit more. So that's what's kind of going on in my head just now, is just it's just to try and review these beers a little bit more regularly. And finding breweries like this, of course, is very cool. But this one is very, very nice, I have to say. Aroma-wise, it's quite nice. You've got this lovely... You've kind of got everything you'd expect from this kind of beer. It's got the bit of spice, it's got the bit of maltiness, it's got the bit of fruit, the bit of kind of tartness, the citricy tartness and things, and a little bit of hoppy character. It's got everything you would want from this style. So yeah, the way that this goes together, I think, is really, really nice. But let's try and break that aroma down for you and just describe it a wee bit more in depth, actually. So the backbone of the beer, is more of a I would say, you've got a nice little bit of woodiness in there. Of course, you're always going to get that. You can smell a little bit of vanilla to the woody character too, and you can also smell, for me, I'm pretty sure that this is with the smoothness of the wood. I do wonder if it's American oak, because it just has that lovely little bit of yeah, it just has that bit more smoothness to it. But at the back of the nose, in fairness, you get a wee bit more dryness out of the wood, so you got that lovely smooth and slightly dry woody backbone. You've also got that wee bit of vanilla within the wood that I was talking about, and I think the vanilla is a bit more prominent when it comes to when it comes to American oak, right enough. But I could be wrong. They're saying that it's a fodder, and of course you get a lot of fodders made in Belgium and things like that, where the sour beers come from. So I could be wrong on that. But yeah, the wood has a lovely smoothness in this one, and then on top of that, you're getting all the kind of bready notes and things that you would expect. So for me, there is a little bit of a Jacob's kind of cream crackery note to this beer. You're getting a bit of that. Absolutely some kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. And within the kind of bread crusty notes, you can smell the little bit of like coriander. You can smell the little bit of kind of coriander seed spice, actually. So you can smell that little spicy backbone to this beer. Aroma-wise, this one actually reminds me of some of the beers that we had from Navel Wild Ales down in the Netherlands. So that's also in my mind with this beer. Yeah, so aroma-wise, I think it goes together pretty damn well, actually. Yeah, aroma-wise, this goes. I think it works out very, very well. So on the the nose, then, other than that, you can smell this lovely kind of white bready character. That's going to be from the wheat. This is a wheaty based sour, actually, so you do get a lot of that out of this one. So you can smell that lovely kind of white bready note in there. I'm also getting little bits of kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing out of this beer. So yeah, big kind of wheaty white bread. Yeah, big kind of wheaty white bread. You've also got that little bit of yeah, you've got a little bit of that kind of wheaty white bready sort of thing. You've also got that kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch. Also a little bit of a kind of you know, there's a wee touch of that McVitie's Digestive biscuity character in this one. So, I mean, for me, these kind of farmhousey sour beers, they've always got similar aromas to them, but it doesn't make them any less attractive, I have to say. Other than that, I don't think we need to say so much about the malty and yeasty side of the beer. When it comes to the green component of this one, and this beer, we have to remember it is quite young. The longer you let this beer age, the more the hoppy character will kind of drop out of it. But you can still get a significant amount of green component in this one. There's a little bit of earthiness in there. You've got a nice wee touch of a kind of floral aromaticity, and you've also still got that nice kind of slightly zesty grassy character coming out of it too, which I have to admit I am quite enjoying. So yeah, this one, it smells like quite a fresh, quite citricy leaning farmhouse sour beer. I'm trying to see if I can pick up what hop is in this one. I'd be very curious to know, right enough, but it doesn't say. But the fruity side of things in this beer is kind of what you'd expect. You know, it's got a little bit of that kind of gooseberry-ish type note to it. I wonder if it's maybe got a little bit of citra in that case then, because I think I've had citra in a couple of these more modern kind of wild ales, and the aroma's just, it feels a little bit familiar. I don't think it's, the other one I would have picked out would be like Nelson Sauvin or something like that, but just the fact that it's got that wee bit of gooseberry makes me think, you know, citra in certain malt bases can give you a more gooseberry-ish type note, and there's a bit of tropical fruit behind it as well, so yeah, thinking about that. But yeah, for me, the fruity notes in this one, you've got an oily pear and a sort of oily gooseberry kind of forming a backbone to the beer, but on top of that, there's like a little bit of a kind of apricot-y and slightly mango-y note, and then mixing in with all of that, you've got the sharp citric-y qualities from the, you do have that kind of sharp citric-y quality from the actual sour side of the beer, the Brettanomyces and the Lactobacillus. So yeah, that's kind of mixing in with the oily gooseberry and pear for me, and giving the beer the tartness that you'd expect. So yeah, the way that this beer goes about its business, I think, is very, very nice in that sense. Kind of, it gives you everything you would want from a beer of this this kind of nature, if you like. But as I always say, take a wee bit of time to enjoy the aroma of these beers before you get stuck into them, but I think it's about time that we have a taste of this one now. So yeah, this one is the Thestias, named after a planet which is named after a Greek king of Anatolia, if I remember rightly. Thestias was the king of Anatolia. So yeah, and it's of course from Observatoriet, the observatory brewery in near Skanderborg and Silkeborg. Over on Jylland in Denmark. Probably butchered the pronunciations, but what can you do? Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, and cheers. Ooh. Yeah. That's really nice, actually. First impression of this one is it's quite an oily, but still quite wet and quite clean wild ale, this one. I like this. I do like this, actually. Yeah. This is pretty damn nicely done, I have to say. So I'm going to say thumbs up to Simon Toft Hansen for this. Done another solid beer. I actually don't know if he's still involved in Osnigern, but yeah, if they're doing this as a kind of separate if they're doing this basically as two separate brands or whatever, it's pretty damn impressive, actually. But yeah, that is really, I'm going to say I really like this one, actually, because I like, you know, the thing that amazes me with these kind of wild ales and sour beers and stuff is that for me, a good sour beer is one that comes in and, you know, it gives you a good little bit of impact, and then it just mellows out nicely and shows you all these different flavours. This beer does that, and, you know, I've really noticed, I've been reviewing, I've not reviewed too many American examples of these types of beer, right enough, but I have been noticing the quality of these sour beers and wild ales and stuff that you're getting is really nice. And of course, one of the ones in Denmark who really would have started this would be Mikkeller with their Bauhaus facility. There are a lot of very, very good wild beers and things out there these days. The one that comes to mind here in Sweden was the Coats du Ringon from Stigbergets recently. That was a really nice beer. This one, the kind of feel that this one has actually reminds me of that a little bit. So yeah, but flavour wise, it's very nice as well. Just big, oily, smooth and clean sour beer. But yeah, it gives you everything you would want from this style. So let's just break it down. First off then, we'll go to the middle third of the palate as we always do. So you can of course, and I will say this beer is one of these ones that the flavour kind of gives you exactly what you'd expect when you think about the aroma. But yeah, the backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely, smooth, oaky character in there, and you can tell from the sort of dryness that the oak has, it's European oak. So I think that's one of the differences between the aroma. The aroma, the wood is very, very smooth and slightly sweet, but yeah, middle of your palate for sure. Slightly dry, but still very smooth European oak. Toward the front of that middle third of your palate, you do get a little bit of a there's a very slight vanilla character coming out of it too. Above that, above the woody character, you've got a kind of Jacob's cream cracker sort of thing, a little bit of that, and then you get the kind of fresh white bready bread crust coming out of it. So yeah, you have that nice little bit of fresh white bready bread crust in there, and then within the bread crust, particularly toward the back of that middle third of your palate, you get the kind of coriander seeds. What was the other seed that they put in there? Paradise seeds. I think I've had this I think I had this actually. First time I had that was in a beer from that brewery I mentioned, Neville Wild Ales from the Netherlands. So you do get that kind of seedy character toward the back of the seedy kind of spicy character toward the back of the middle third of your palate there. But yeah, on top of the bread crusty there, you can feel the smooth, wheaty, white bready character in there. It's a little bit dense, but as I say, it's very, very smooth, and it offers you just that nice little bit of breadiness as well. And there is a little bit of a lighter breadiness above that, which I'm assuming will be from the barley malt. But yeah, the way that this beer goes together is quite nice. These things, to me, these wild beers, farmhouse ales, whatever, these are always just for me, these are tasting beers. These are treat beers. They're not like, lagers and IPAs and stuff that you'd want to session. I kind of enjoy these in the same way that I would enjoy like a nice barley wine or an imperial stout or something like that. Although you would start off the night with these and then end it with the more big beastly malty things that I've just mentioned. But yeah, aroma wise, or flavour wise, sorry, in the middle of the palate, this one is quite nice. Above that bready layer as well, in the centre of your palate you can feel a little circle, so there's that little circle in there. On top of that you've got a wee bit of a kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing, and as you move further out from that, you've got a wee bit of a more McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. So yeah, I do like how that goes together, absolutely. And on top of that, you can feel I would say the kind of brown sugary and sweet notes are quite minimal in this. This beer, the breadiness kind of pushes its way out a little more, the bread crust and the wood. But yeah, those little sweet notes to talk about, as I say, just a little circle in the middle, the dead centre of your palate, then yeah, a bit of a butterscotchy, butter candy type thing, and then yeah, just a wee touch of a McVitie's digestive biscuit sort of thing spreads out beyond that. But yeah, the way it goes together, I think, is really quite nice. But yeah, flavour wise, this one does go together pretty damn well. I think that's everything we need to say about the middle third of your palate in this beer. The border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you've got a nice little bit of bready build up in there. And again, within that kind of white bready build up that you have there, you really get a lot of the coriander at least, but also I'm guessing what will be the paradise seed. So I'm kind of used to coriander flavour, but not so much the paradise seed. I think the paradise seed is giving you a little bit more of a kind of dryness and spiciness to it, whereas the coriander of course will give you that, but to me coriander is a bit more of a recognisable flavour than paradise seed is, I have to say. But yeah, on that back third of the palate, we'll start and do the layers again. You can feel that the woody notes are a little bit drier, of course, and remember, drier and more bitter flavours come out further back on the palate than the sweeter and smoother flavours do. But above that, again, you get a little bit of the Jacob's cream cracker sort of thing. Then you get the bread crust, then you get the mix of the wheat and the barley malt in there, giving you this nice kind of white bready kind of thing. But on top of that, as I say, the kind of the paradise seed and the coriander seed are giving you that little bit of spiciness, and there potentially is a little bit of bitiness from the wheat as well. And then above that, you've got another very airy, light kind of white bready sort of thing coming out of the beer as well. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is very, very nice. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is pretty damn awesome, I have to say. Yeah, it is pretty damn good in that sense. So yeah, we can definitely say that on the back of the that front half, or the back third of your palate, you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you come further forward, it just squashes together a little bit more. And yeah, I think that covers everything we need to say about the malty and yeasty side of this beer. So yeah, a bit taller on the back third of your palate, then as you come further forward, it just kind of squashes together that wee bit more. But yeah, I like that. So the malty and yeasty and woody side of this beer is really nice. Let's focus on the hoppy side of things and the actual sour side of the beer. So, back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of earthiness in there for sure. And the green component, as I said, the green component's actually quite wet in the overall scope of the beer. So yeah, a little bit of earthiness in there. And as you move further forward, it's got a bit more of a kind of floral character to it. So yeah, nice little bit of floral aromaticity. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's definitely a wee bit more lighter and grassy. You do get a wee touch of zestiness out of it there as well. So yeah, the way that goes together is pretty damn nice, and you get a little bit of bitterness out of this beer the further you go into the aftertaste as well. So yeah, and again, remember, with these kind of sour beers, wild ales, you can age these a little bit more, and that hoppy character will kind of die away a little bit. And quite often what they do with beers like this, in Belgium at least, is that they'll add old hops into them so that it doesn't take away from the kind of sour impact of the beer. So you have to bear that in mind too. But let's look at the front third of the palate then to kind of round off our tasting of this beer. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again you get a little bit of that bready build up there. White bread, I would say, this time. And then the base of the front third of your palate, you've got a nice little bit of woodiness in there, that smooth oaky character for sure. Then above that you're getting the fruity esters from the hops and also the kind of sour impact as well. So yeah, let's have a wee look at that side of things. So we'll take the oily fruits from the hops first, and then the sour impact of this beer. So yeah, with this beer then you have with the impact of this beer, you've got that nice, at the back half of the front third of your palate, you get a little bit of that kind of sultana type note. You can feel that oily sultana there. Then as you move further forward, it becomes a little bit more kind of peary, and then as you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, it's a little bit more kind of it's a little bit more gooseberry like. If you go back to the back half, then you start to get a little bit of the kind of dry apricot, a little touch of like mango and things like that. I really do wonder about Citra as the hop in this beer. There's just something telling me that it's there's a bit of Citra in this, so a bit of juicy like sort of dry but still slightly juicy mango, a little bit of apricot, maybe a tiny hint of pineapple or something like that. You're getting those tropical notes sitting above the sultana and the pear in the back half there. But as you come further forward, like I said, you've got this kind of oily gooseberry type note to the beer, and above that front half of the front third of your palate, that's where you get the kind of sour impact coming out of this one. So let's just look at that. So when you take this beer in, you do get that nice sharp tartness to the beer. It's a little bit citricy, as I say, it's got a little, it kind of just gives you that wee bit of sharpness there, but it comes in above the front half of the front third of your palate, then it just spreads and you get that nice oily smoothness just going further back above the other fruits on this beer. And like I say, when you move into the aftertaste for this beer, you start to get some of the graininess and some of the seeds and things coming out. So this beer, it has got that nice oily fruity character to it, but yeah, it kind of dries out and goes together very, very nicely after that. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is very, very nice. But yeah, flavour wise, this beer goes together really nicely, and I'd be very curious to try a few of their other beers. I don't know if they've got ones where they've actually put fruit and things in them to try, maybe a raspberry or a strawberry sour or something like this, or a creek type beer could be really interesting. But certainly, one like this is very, very nice too. So big thumbs up to Observatoriet for this beer as well. They've done a nice job with this. But yeah, let's round off this review with a wee look at the mouthfeel then. So, mouthfeel wise, for me, when I think about this style, this one is kind of mid to top end and mid bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It's actually got quite a nice oily and slick character to it. But yeah, you do get a little bit of that nice kind of cleanliness that you would expect as well. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really, really nice in that sense. In terms of IBUs, I think this beer still does have a little bit of IBU. You've got a wee bit of, you do have a nice little bit of kind of hoppy bitterness. This one, there's a wee bit of earthiness there, some nice floral aromaticity, and then you've also got a little bit of that grassy character as well. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together is really, really nice. Yeah, I like that with this one. Yeah, a little bit of bitterness in there. Malt base is, the woodiness is smooth. You've got a nice little bit of malt base in there. Then you've also got that just little bit of fruity character, both from the hops and from the sour side of things. But yeah, the way this beer goes together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. So yeah, this one was the Thestias, a 6.5% wild ale, I guess we could say it, from Observatoriet on Jylland in Denmark. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from this brewery as well. And we will return to these guys in the future, I'm sure. But until the next time, check out my social media, check out theirs, and I'll catch you guys again very, very soon. Make sure you check out Observatoriet and also check out Beer Hive in Amar in Copenhagen. Slange, skål, cheers, and see you guys very, very soon.